Okay, so this is the first part of, and I don't know how many part series of how to sculpt a goblin. So each video is going to focus on one or two specific things on sculpting this figure. With this video, the first one, you're going to get how to make a shitty armature out of brass wire, and then we're going to start on the feet and the legs. Then each video after this will be torso, arms, head, face, weapon, and shield, of course. And by the end of it, if you follow these videos, you will have sculpted your own goblin. So hopefully this can be a non-intimidating way to help you start sculpting full figures, because once you can sculpt a goblin, you can sculpt a person, you can sculpt an orc, a squig, a fucking dwarf, whatever. You do a Fimir. That's a cool one, isn't it? All right, so we're gonna start the armature by using this brass wire and the little clippers. And let me just explain what everything's for. Of course, you have your sculpting tools right here. You have your little fucking cork, so you could use it as a handle. So the thing about using the cork as a handle is if you just sculpt the thing on the wire, you're gonna press it. You're gonna like fucking squish your green stuff. You're still gonna do it with this, but you're gonna do it a lot less, and that's a lot less restarting and everything. Oop. Forgot my hobby knife. But yeah, I'm gonna be using green stuff instead of Tamiya putty this time around, because it's something that's it's usually my preferred sculpting clay, epoxy. But I've been really into Tamiya epoxy putty as of recently. But I'm using this because it's more accessible. Everybody has it. It's kind of like a hobby staple. Whereas Tamiya epoxy, not many people have it, I suppose. It's not really widely available like that, unless you have a Gunpla, I think it's called, Gunpla store, Gundam and all that. But even then, if you have one of those stores next to your house, you probably don't have it, because they don't like shipping it fucking anywhere. Okay. So we're going to start off with the armature, and I don't really have a sketch, but usually it helps to have a sketch. I have an idea in my mind, though. It helps to have like a sketch on what pose you want for your little guy or something. But we're going to just make a little U. It's about, I want to say like about 2 inches of material, brass wire. No, not 2 inches at all. I just eyeball it, and then if it's not the right size, then, just fucking cut off some more wire. It's cheap. It's about 1.5 inches, just above 1.5 inches of wire. So I like to make a little U, and then I'll do a bend at the hip. So that's about, was it like a 1/4 inch in or something? Something like that. I don't know. We're gonna do a little bend for his hips, and then we're gonna sculpt. We're gonna bend one of his little feet backwards, and then another little bend right here for his foot. So that's gonna be kind of like his little leg. So that's one. I'm gonna bend it a little back. A little bend right there. And then another bend right here. Very descriptive, another bend right here. And we kind of want to get like almost like a little creeping pose, because I have like a little pose in my head. It's going to be like a forward advancing goblin. You can pose him as you like, but this is what I'm doing for this one. Okay. I'm just going to press him in there. There you go. That already kind of looks like a little body almost. Okay. You can super glue this if you want. Generally, I do and I don't. But generally, I find myself gluing it after I knock it off of the base. So we're just going to do that. We're just going to glue it just for, ease of not fucking knocking it off the little base. So I got some super glue gel. This stuff, I'm not too crazy about it, but it doesn't go everywhere like the regular one. I'm gonna put a little amount. a reasonable amount of glue, I'd say. And then what you can do after that is, if you really want to spread it around, you can use your little needle tool or something. Just kind of like, just really get it on there. You should have like a napkin or something to like rub this off, but I generally use my fingers. It doesn't seem to be an issue. A little scrap of napkin, something like that. You just want to keep that tip clean. And then if it gets hard, you can just scrape it off with a hobby knife if it really bothers you that much, if it's not clean. It's generally a quick way to clean that. All right. So we got a little armature glued and ready for green stuff. So what we're gonna do is, I got this tip from, I believe, at Smart Sculpt on Instagram, and I think he's a Ukrainian sculptor. Don't quote me on that, but I think the last time I saw a little Ukrainian flag, but I'm not sure if, you know, if he's Ukrainian or whatever. Okay, I'm gonna use a little bit more blue, but the tip is, I believe it cures in under an hour if you do like a 60-40 mix of blue to yellow. So this is generally like a little ratio I use. It's like slightly bigger, not like a crazy difference, but let's see, can I focus? Yeah, there we go. But this should be something that cures fairly quickly, so you don't have to fucking wait all the time. Mix it thoroughly. Get your nice even green coloring, one of those, and we'll be ready for sculpting. I'll show you how to sculpt the little feet and legs, at least how I do it, which, you know, it looks like feet. This is a big tip I'm going to give you for sculpting. When you're sculpting something small, like a goblin, or just little details, chainmail, belts, anything, it's a lot better to give like an assumed texture to it. So like, let's say, you know, the classic way to sculpt chainmail, you can do a really like complex chainmail or something, or you can just do a bunch of little dots like this, and it's like, it doesn't really look like chainmail from up close, but far away it's got the texture, you know. It's not my finest work, but it's like the assumption of texture. Giving the assumption of texture as opposed to actually giving the texture is a better thing at one point. So it's like, you don't have to do these deep grooves for every single toe. You could just do some lines, and it'll be enough definition to read as a foot or as a hand or anything, what have you, you know? And it saves you a lot of headache if you kind of like sculpt with that in mind, I want to say. All right, so we're going to start on the legs. We're going to get like a nice little thing of green stuff for the thighs. And here's a little trick for how I keep it like even, sort of. Like body parts, legs, arms, everything. I'll get a piece of green stuff that I'm going to use for the thighs, let's say, and I'll just cut it in half. It's not going to be perfectly in half, but it's going to be equal enough where it's like, you have to be really fucking nitpicking this thing to realize that, like, oh, one thigh is slightly bigger, you know? But yeah, so we're gonna put that on our goblin. You generally want to rough up, I think, the brass wire before you start sculpting on it, or you can glue like the green stuff on there so that way it doesn't move around too much. But I just put it on there, and that tends to work pretty well. But what we're going to do is we're just going to slowly kind of mold it on there. With your wet tool, of course. You can use a silicone tool, you can use the little needle tool, you can use anything. Just want to get like a little thigh-like shape on there, just a little sausage, for now anyways. And then we're just going to make sure that it wraps around completely. If there's any unsightly seams, don't worry. This is nowhere near finished, so you can just essentially fill that in as you go, like, get closer to being finished with it. It's the beginning of our first little leg right there. Then we got our other half. Also, just as a disclaimer, I'm by any means I am not a professional sculptor, so you know, this is just for a no-name hobbyist to sculpt a little goblin for you. You know, sculpt your own goddamn goblin. Then you can sculpt your own little person. You can do conversions a lot better once you get your chops up. It's nice. So we got our little thigh meat going on so far. It's not the best looking, but you know, it looks like a thigh. Okay, so then we're gonna work on adding the calves. The calves, I feel, kind of sell the look of a leg when it comes to it, because it's like a leg doesn't really look like it unless it has like these specific curves. So like those curves are the little bump of the thigh, the calf, and the little bump behind the foot, like the ankle, I guess would be the term. So you're gonna get your little piece of green stuff, kind of shape it. Just remember, you can always add more or add less or whatever, take away. So if it doesn't look so good at first, don't worry. You can always refine it later and everything, you know. Because it seems like this one right here is a little thicker than this one. It's coming off a little weird right there, but that's fine. You can just, again, smooth it out, take some away, what have you. Oh, I have a little fucking, cool. Got a little glue on there, so we're just gonna scrape that off. Ideally, you would wait until it's curing, but would I have to wait for? Alright, donezo. Okay, then we add the other cuff. Again, if you're having trouble putting green stuff on something too, you can use like any number of little pointy tools to just kind of like put it on there. I had to plug in my charger. Alright. It's kind of looking like a little approaching fella. Okay. And then we can get started on the feet, which is going to be a little weird because of the approaching movement, I would suppose. So this foot's going to be just completely flat, and this other one's going to have like a little bend in it to give the illusion of walking. You're gonna want kind of like a bigger ball of green stuff for this, because you know, if you're doing anything like heroic scaled like I am, because I'm a fucking lazy bastard who doesn't care about if something looks authentic or not, I suppose. You're just going to want to make your little hot dog shape that you do for everything else, and then you're going to want to squeeze it on here. And you're going to want to vaguely shape it into like a foot. Again, if it's not enough at first, that's completely okay. You just add more, take away, whatever. But this might not be your final shape, because generally, like, the foot will be, you finish that off really easily. But it's like, you know, sometimes it's easier to just like shape it, let it cure, and then you could add the little toes and whatnot later. How nice is that? Wow. All right. Then we're gonna have to get the other little foot right here. This one's gonna be a little funky, because we're gonna have to shape it. So we're gonna have the little heel right here. Smooth it in. Gonna flatten the bottom. Give him a little flat foot. A bit of a little tight spot right there, so we're gonna get our needle tool. And I mean, that's, yeah, those are little legs. We'll bulk it up a little bit more just so it looks more like legs. So we're gonna add a little bit more on the calves for one of them, I believe. And then we can add some knees, some little knobbly knees. Because I think that really sells the thing too. If you add little knobbly knees, it looks really like a leg, you know? So this leg looks fine to me, kind of. Because once you add a knee, it'll look a lot better. But this guy, he's a little beefed up calf. Okay. And you just keep fucking easing that in there, and then you get more of a little calf look. See? It just needs a little bump. And then just mix it into all your other green stuff work. Again, if it's not super smooth or anything, you can just smooth it out after, once you're done with it. I generally finish figures and then like to smooth that out once I'm pretty much like 100% done, just as a space filling thing. So that way there's no issues with casting. And then also, popular to contrary belief, you can sand green stuff. This small though, I'm not sure, but you can. I would suggest running it under a very light tap, just to get the water on there. Keep it wet, and then just keep sanding, and you will like not breathe any of the dust in. To my knowledge, who knows how much dust I've been breathing, and it'll just kind of like come off as goop as it like builds up. But it's an easy way to just not breathe in dust, to my knowledge. And I think it'll give you a finer texture when it comes to sanding, because you're wet sanding it. All right. These look like little calves. There's a little fucking, there's like cured fucking super glue everywhere, but that's fine. Alright, let's start on the little knobbly knees. If you've never sculpted knobbly knees before, it's surprisingly easy. You just get a little ball of green stuff, real small. Of course, cut it in half, as you do. And you make your little ball. You place it where you want the knobbly knee, so somewhere like this. And you're almost done. You're almost done with that knobbly knee. But you just want to press it on there. And then this is very simple. You're going to want to gently ease it into the thigh and gently ease it into the shin. And then you're going to want to do the same for the left and the right. You just want it kind of like fused in there, but not like, you don't want to flatten it completely because then it doesn't really look like a knee. But again, if you do flatten it completely, there's nothing wrong with just doing it again, adding more green stuff. It's a little knobbly knee. And then, as usual, if it doesn't look good, just wait till the end. And then you could just keep fucking around until it looks nice. You can flatten it a little bit in the, like that. And then you can kind of make the knee more pronounced. And you got a little knee, a little sharp knee. Isn't that spectacular? Isn't that great? And then we're going to do the other one. This one's going to be a little harder because it's kind of like at a weird angle. But same thing more or less. You want to press it on there. Ease it on there. I have a feeling I'm going to have to add more green stuff for this one, but that's all right. Or not. It should be fine like that. That looks like a knee to me. What say you? What do you think? And then, as usual, a little flatness, flat, flat. All right. All right, their legs coming on together. It's going great. The pieces are coming together. They're grooving. All right, we're gonna finish this up with the toes, I think. And since we have a lot of cured green stuff, we could actually probably start the torso. Let's see. Same deal, get your bit of green stuff that you're gonna make 2 parts of. So 2 toes, 2 arms, 2 legs, thighs, what have you. Split them in half. And then pick out the cat hair of your green stuff. On here, it's got some bent toes on this guy. Really, this is a 2-for-1 deal because you get to see regular toes and bent toes. So really, it's a pretty thorough tutorial, I'd say. You're welcome. Yeah, there we go. There we fucking go. Flatten those out a little bit. Oop. I'm gonna have to use our little flat tool because my tool's stuck. So just remember to always keep your tools moist. Because if you don't, you just fuck everything up like that. Like I almost did. Got a little creepy toe right there. Ooh. And then we'll add a little bit to where the other half of green stuff is, right here on the hobby knife. Add a little bit to the other toe. Just to extend that a little bit. Extendo toe. And smooth that out on there. Keep your tools wet as usual, of course. And then you're going to want to shape, like for both of these generally, but you want to shape like the toe box. I think when it's pointing to the inner body, it should be like a little bit further up. So it should be kind of like a, just look at your feet. Which toe is bigger? Which toe is more forward? It's going to be your big toe. It's going to look more like a foot. You see that? Is it out of focus? Yeah, it is. Of course it is. Why would it be in focus? There you go. Big toe. And do the same thing right here, kind of. Just push that in a little bit. Because the toes should be shorter here because they're bent, so it's like, you know? All right. Now I'm going to show you how to sculpt toes. The easiest thing on earth. So, generally want 5 little lines. You're going to want to poke in 5 little lines. Oh no, you're going to want to poke in 4, because it's like 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 4 toes. So when you do the little lines like this, it's going to be one less than however many appendages you want. So if I want 5 toes, I'm going to poke in 4 lines, and so on and so forth. So you're going to want to do like that, 4 little lines. And then you're going to want to come in from the opposite side, push in 4 little lines. Those already kind of look like toes. Trust me, it doesn't look like toes, but I swear this is how they look like toes. I mean, it really kind of looks like it, whatever. But you do that, and then I generally get like the hobby knife, moisten it a little bit, and then just kind of press it a little more. It might look a little too splayed out in the moment, which is completely fine. Because what we're going to do is we're going to press them together to give more of like a toe shape. You're going to want to round them a little bit, however you like. Doesn't matter. And then if a toe doesn't look like too big, doesn't look like big enough for you, you can just wait until it cures and then add more. Add more green stuff. Make a little green stuff toe. Press them down a little bit, and then press them together. It'll look more like a foot. There's like a little silicone cone tool that's good for this too. Because it's like, if you just have like little flat lines on the toe, it doesn't really look too good. So this works for hands too. You can just soften it a little bit of this, so it's like it's easing into the toe from the foot. Push in a little space from the front. The little foot. And you're pressing those toes again. Then I mean, that looks like a foot to me. What say you, YouTube looker? I'm gonna do the same thing for this one. It's gonna be a little harder. For these flat toes, I generally like, or these like walking toes, I generally like doing the little rough sculpt of them. Same deal. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4 toes right here. I'll add like a toe after, because it's just easier than trying to fucking force it, honestly. Ooh, I sure hope you could see that the whole time. Probably not. Oops. Whoopsie. Yeah, same thing. Looks like a toe. And we could add a little extra green stuff just for that big toe. And since this is going to be, oh shit, I dropped my green stuff. Hey, Jesus. Looks a little weird, but you just press that in a little more. You just basically need the extra green stuff. That's basically why you're just doing this. But these look a little weird. If it looks a little weird, just refine it a bit more again. Hit it again. 2, 3, 4, 5. Little tiny toe. Hit it with a little tool. I'd say that's a pretty satisfactory creeping forward pose. And then let me just say, you could bypass doing this step entirely just by sculpting feet, just by putting boots or something on them, little bandages, you know, the usual. There you go. You got yourself some goblin feet in about 30 minutes, which I'm going to cut down into maybe 10 or 15. Yeah, we'll work on the little butt and torso probably in the next video, just for shits and giggles. But yeah, that's it. Enjoy your goblin legs, I suppose, if you followed this. If not, thanks for watching. You know, if you liked the video, subscribe. If you didn't, unsubscribe. If you hated it, find out where I live. If you really liked it, send me $100. Bye-bye.